Quickie Wednesday! Yay! Quickie Wednesday.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another Quickie Wednesday video. And today it is the first Quickie Wednesday of December, and the next 3 weeks we will be diving into the Star Wars saga, all leading up to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Today we are looking back on the prequels. These are the movies that for a long time, and maybe still today, people hate on and you know, talk negatively about. Then The Last Jedi came around and some of the negative focus went to that. Different discussion there. We'll save that for another time. But I think a lot of people appreciate these movies now. More than they ever did. And I'm happy about that because I never hated these movies. Watching them as a kid, watching them as an adult, I never hated them. I always thought that they weren't great. The first two, especially, weren't great. But there was definitely redeemable qualities there, and I never thought these movies were trash. And let's just start with The Phantom Menace. We've got the DVD here. Really cool DVD case, by the way. I wish Lucasfilm, since Disney owns Fox now, I wish they kind of made the DVDs like this again, and they had, you know, 1 through 9 and the side there, whatever. But yeah, let's talk about The Phantom Menace for a little bit here, looking back on it in preparation for The Rise of Skywalker. This is part 1. This is the beginning of a 9-movie arc. And is the movie great? No. But the redeemable qualities about this movie, sure, the lightsaber fight between Darth Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan is incredible. Duel of the Fates, wonderful. Some of the best music and fights in the Star Wars series ever. I actually really like Qui-Gon Jinn in this movie. I thought that when he died, it was like, oh, we're never going to see him again. But I did really like that character. Mainly talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi here. Everybody says, oh, who's the protagonist of the prequel trilogy? Is it Anakin? Is it Obi-Wan? There's no clear-cut protagonist. This is the way I always saw it. I always saw Obi-Wan as the protagonist of this movie, of the whole series. Even though he might not be the lead character in this, Qui-Gon is more the lead character. This movie actually doesn't really have a clear-cut lead character, but I do think Obi-Wan is the protagonist of the prequel trilogy. And in this movie, he's an upcoming Jedi Padawan. He meets this Anakin Skywalker kid. He doesn't really like him at first. And then by the time Attack of the Clones comes around, you know, he's promised Qui-Gon that he would take care of Anakin, that he would train him. So he said, you know what, I'm going to do this for my master. Not because I like the kid, but because I had a devotion to Qui-Gon and I respect him enough to follow his wishes. So in this movie, Obi-Wan does his best to train Anakin, even though they don't really have that total bond and like and care for each other. Till towards the end of the film, you don't really get much of that, but at the same time, there's not really that bond there because, like I said, Obi-Wan, he was just doing this for Qui-Gon. So as the time goes on and the Clone Wars come to an end, the end of the Clone Wars, the bond between Anakin and Obi-Wan has grown stronger. Finally, by Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan now actually has a sort of liking for Anakin. And he sort of starts to see him as not just his you know, Padawan or his Jedi Knight or whatever you want to call it, but he sees him as maybe a friend now. And so that's the whole beginning of this movie, when they're talking back and forth, having funny jokes, you know, about them in the elevator and all this, happy landing, yada yada yada. Obi-Wan is finally comfortable with Anakin, and Anakin is even matured in this movie. Even though he's sort of behind closed doors when he's with Padme, he's got a lot of stuff deep inside that's eating away at him. But that relationship with Obi-Wan here has always, in this movie, it's as strong as it's ever been. Because of that progression. I don't think it's bad writing, I just think it's the progression with the character. So finally, when everything happens and there's that fight at the end of the movie, you're my brother, Anakin, it all makes sense because the relationship has grown. Obi-Wan has gone from not liking this kid to seeing him as almost a brother. And that's a 3-movie arc. So I do think Obi-Wan Kenobi is the best character of this trilogy, and I think that Obi-Wan he's my favorite Star Wars character ever. But, you know, finishing up talking about The Phantom Menace, I think that this is a 2.5 out of 5 movie. Is it horrible? No, I don't think it's great. I think I could rewatch it because I love Star Wars. I love the characters. I love the music. John Williams' music is incredible in all these movies, and I like it. I don't know. It's all right. It's a good movie overall. Probably not, like I said, 2.5, but it's not horrible. I think it's, as a movie on its own, it's there. You know, Attack of the Clones, same thing. 2.5 out of 5 movie. You know what I mean? It's a little more entertaining, has a little more action, has a little more pizzazz, a little more stuff going on in it. But the first, like, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of this movie, after we get off the whole Coruscant thing, or when they're fighting in the bar or whatever, they're going after that bounty hunter. And there's a lot of stuff. They're just walking around the Jedi Temple, and there's not much happening, and they're just talking, they're walking around. But when the movie gets going and they all start to do their own things, is the romance great? No. Do you buy into it? Maybe. Maybe not. I mean, I buy into it because I know what happens in the future. You know, so maybe these guys don't have great communication skills to each other. Maybe they are awkward. Who knows? But overall, the lightsaber battle at the end of this, probably my least favorite. Anakin versus Dooku, Obi-Wan versus Dooku. Definitely improved in the next movie, but Yoda versus Dooku is probably the best in this movie, but it's so short. It's not fast at all. It's quickly over. So, what are you going to do? But overall, this movie, maybe slightly better than Phantom Menace, I don't know, but they're pretty much tied for me. Again, John Williams, Across the Stars, great stuff. And finally, Revenge of the Sith. This is my favorite of the prequels, and actually I think that, as of right now, this is my 5th favorite Star Wars movie. I love the transition between Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader. Do I think it was abrupt? No. Every time I watched it, I never said, oh, wow, that was abrupt. I knew it was coming. And people says it was so abrupt. That doesn't happen until an hour, 10 minutes into the movie. So how is it abrupt? You've been building this. You've been leading to it. It's not like first 10 minutes, damn, there it is. You know, you've been leading to it. I never thought it was abrupt. Anakin versus Obi-Wan, the best fight in any Star Wars movie. People says, oh, it's a dance, it's too much choreography, it's a dance. I disagree with that. These are two Jedis in their prime. And the Force is very much a part of this fight. I think the Force is guiding them through this fight. Obi-Wan may know where Anakin's going to hit. Anakin might know where Obi-Wan's going to hit because of the Force. They're using the Force, they're very powerful in the Force. And these are two Jedi in their prime. So, I love the fight. Yoda versus the Emperor, 10 times better than Yoda versus Dooku. Great fight. Music, Battle of the Heroes, Anakin's dark deeds, Anakin's betrayal. Every track in this movie. This is the best Star Wars soundtrack, I believe. The best score by John Williams. Empire Strikes Back scores right up there. Maybe even The Force Awakens scores right up there. I don't know. But definitely top 2 scores, Empire and Revenge of the Sith. Solid 4 out of 5 for me. And basically the main takeaway from this trilogy, besides John Williams' music and the fall from Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader, is the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi and what he goes through in this movie. That is the most important part to me, and I think that's the main arc between this whole trilogy is Obi-Wan Kenobi's arc. Going from the Padawan of Qui-Gon, who meets Anakin, doesn't really care for him, Qui-Gon dies, Qui-Gon instructs Obi-Wan, train him as the chosen one that I believe he is, and Obi-Wan trusts his master, cares about his master, he's devoted to his master, so he says, you know what, even in death I will respect you and I will obey your wishes. Obi-Wan takes care of Anakin, Anakin becomes his Padawan. Second movie, like I said, Obi-Wan doesn't really like Anakin, even though he didn't really like him in the first movie either, so he doesn't really like him, but he's doing this because of Qui-Gon. And then, by the time the third movie comes, the Clone Wars have come to an end, Obi-Wan actually kind of gets a real liking for Anakin, because I think he did mature between movie 2 and 3. Not just the hair, but the whole bit of Anakin. I think he did mature because he's not complaining and whining to everybody. He might have some mature arguments, I feel, in the third movie, but he really only talks to Padme the way he talked to everybody in the second movie. You know, like the whininess. He really only did that to Padme. He confined in Padme. Because that's his secret wife. So yes, Obi-Wan gets that liking for Anakin, the brotherly bond. We see that the first half of Revenge of the Sith. everything goes down, final battle, you are my brother. It works. Wonderful stuff. Those are my thoughts on the Star Wars prequels, everybody. Overall, basically, that's my overview of this. The takeaway, the most important thing about these movies is the character and arc of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And that's how I feel about it anyway. So guys, comment your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about these prequels? What is your favorite one? For me, I think it's Revenge of the Sith by far, and this is probably a lot of people's by far. But leave your comments down below. Next week, next Quickie Wednesday, we will be talking about the original trilogy. We're going to go back and talk about that. The week after, we are going to talk about The Force Awakens. We're going to talk about The Last Jedi. And that is the Wednesday right before the release of The Rise of Skywalker. So definitely hit that subscribe button for all that, guys. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Links to those are in the description of this video. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching this Quickie Wednesday. Not really review, but overview of the Star Wars prequel. So guys, thanks so much, and until next time, over and out.
Get your quickie on Wednesdays.